we'll have a quick chat about where storylines are going as we come out of Royal Rumble and we start moving towards Elimination Chamber. So, Raw this past Monday, Cody versus Roman is more than like has been absolutely confirmed as it's happening at Mania. Will that still be the case come Elimination Chamber? Who knows? Because anything can happen at this rate, and I think that's also quite a beauty. You kind of think, yeah, it might be set in stone, but there's always that little voice thinking, but they could change plans. They could. Things could change. But no, because one of the things that was picked up a lot on like from other wrestling YouTubers and sort of commentators in a way was basically the whole thing of especially at the Rumble, particularly with Cody winning the Rumble and not Sami per se. There was that thing of, Cody might get a backlash from fans, and Cody on Raw had a really, really good promo, and the crowd are actively chanting for him, and they're really supportive. So I think to a degree, I think they're still happy Cody is the one going to Mania in a main event. Again, like I said, things could change, but I think they started a story last April of Cody's coming back. He wants the belt that his family's never won. It's kind of like, it is a very safe slam dunk storyline, but the fact is, because Cody's such an excellent promo performer as well as a wrestler, you get captivated in his sort of stories, his words, his way of telling a story. Even it's like I watched the post press conference, and you're hearing how he handled obviously the injury and all that sort of stuff, and kind of explaining some of the things that he go through or how he was feeling, stuff like that. It's like he's a very captivating storyteller, even if he's just telling you like basics of like what he's learned and lots of stuff. He's still kind of really captivated. And the promo on Raw was really good because it was like he was talking about how, I think it was during, one of the Manias where it was Rock Cena, that he was really annoyed, and he's like, I came here and I want to be champion within 2 years, and then he goes through the various different things that he's been through with WWE, like wearing a face protector and reintroducing the old Intercontinental belt, becoming Stardust, going off and doing things like All In and AEW and stuff like that. And the fact is, he tells a story of like, if I had to do that all again, I still would, because it brought me to this moment. It brought me to this place. And quite frankly, I think the crowd like that sort of story. It's a journeyman story. And
it's a very strong parallel to Drew McIntyre as well.
Absolutely, as well. So yeah, I can see people still kind of pining for the Sami v Roman at Mania side of things. I think we're going to get Sami versus Roman at Elimination Chamber. It's Montreal. It's a no-brainer. It's happening there. I think as much as we all love to see Sami be the one to dethrone Roman, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm a lot more, because when they kind of suggested, it might be Sami and Kevin going for the tag team belts at Mania a couple of months back, and we all kind of went, well, that's a bit of a silly story. We're clearly going towards something else here. I think from a storyline perspective, and I think from a journey perspective, especially for Sami and Kevin and Jimmy and Jay and other members of the Bloodline, I think the tag team belts are probably the best direction for the Sami story, because everyone has been quite rightly been really happy to see Zayn get this big spotlight. But I think the thing that sometimes gets lost is the little details of the story, like Sami's friendship with Kevin Owens. They have talked about that friendship through pretty much throughout this sort of mini feud between Kevin and Roman, even going back to when Kevin's just kind of flirting with causing Roman trouble and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of think the story comes full circle at Mania with Sami and Kevin as friends, as baby faces on the same page. Something I think the only time we saw them was when they were being heels. That they're proper faces. Their friendship is reunited in a way, and they dethrone the Usos, or they dethrone a troubled Usos, because we don't know what the Jay factor is right now. Is Jay going to be able to focus on doing a tag team match with Jimmy after what they've done with Sami? Maybe Jay comes back, costs Sami at Elimination Chamber and causes Roman to win, and then we go, oh no, we have to boo Jay now. Well, so there's a lot. There is a lot here, and I think to kind of narrow it down to just be Sami and Roman But then you kind of think how all the other members of the Bloodline and even Kevin Owens and that have all factored into this storyline over the last several months. Tag team belts do make sense. And I think if they're going to do it, it has to be the main event of night one. If you're going to do Cody Roman night 2 and Cody finally ends the reign and Cody finally gets that WWE belt, fine. But night 1 needs to end the Bloodline story for Sami and Kevin against the Usos.
I want to say off the top of my head, that would be the first tag team match to headline a WrestleMania since WrestleMania 1.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I agree with everything you said. Part of me thinks that there may be an element where we're not going to see Owens probably until Elimination Chamber. That's my first guess.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
It wouldn't surprise me if we see, let alone hear from Jay pretty much at all until around the time of Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may be just one of those things where it's like maybe Solo may have to help defend the belts or something and fill in for a few weeks and just go, look, we can't get hold of Jay. Like, we don't know where he stands. Mm-hmm. And they play that up, and then maybe it leads to Jay ultimately deciding, no, Sami, look, I loved you like a brother, but you did a bad thing there. And he sides with Roman, and then that leads to Owens coming in, rekindling the friendship in Montreal. The crowd will go in, like, it'll be like an inferno in that building, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Which they may need, depending how cold it is there, because it is Canada. But then, like you said, leading to Mania. But I think that should it come to a tag match there, realistically, it's too big to not be, in essence, a main event match. But I will say, I fully expect that Rhea challenging for the belt would be the main event of one of those nights. That's kind of how I envision it. Maybe originally, but I think I would agree in saying that I think the Sami Zayn dynamic, it is at this point too big for it to not be a main event because it will just overshadow something else. At this point, there might be a way where they can really spice things up on the Rhea Ripley side of things to where they can maybe balance it again. Or maybe have that match halfway through the show or something to where there's time to cool off.
Yeah, the thing I was going to point on that was, and I think I might be wrong, but I vaguely recall in somehow they've worded what the winner of the Royal Rumble gets. They say they get a championship match at WrestleMania. They don't say they're in the main event, per se.
It used to be main event, and then they
used to be main event. But obviously... But yeah,
because I forget Ronda. What was it meant to be last year? Was it Ronda and Charlotte at Mania?
Yeah,
but originally there was talk that was meant to be the main event of night 1,
but then it was Kevin versus Austin. Yeah. So I think they're using the wording very carefully with the Rumble. So basically, I think Cody and Roman is absolutely main event, and that's simply because they're arguably two of the most popular stars in the company. You do it on the biggest stage, the biggest lights, biggest night of the year. You do it.
That is ultimately the main event, the closing of WrestleMania.
Absolutely, yeah. I can still see Charlotte and Rhea being like a semi-main event, maybe night 1 again, maybe night 2. Who knows? But I think the thing is like Rhea and Charlotte's announced from Mania. Rhea picked Charlotte, and I kind of would have preferred to see Rhea versus Bianca, but I like the fact that they are playing into Rhea's defeat, Rhea being defeated by Charlotte at Mania in 2020 and how that affected her.
Oh yeah, the lockdown Mania, wasn't it?
Yeah, because she challenged Charlotte after she won the Rumble. Charlotte won the NXT Championship for a short bit, but then Rhea's stock in the company kind of went down a little bit, and I think she's been on interview saying that she had a very sort of a very low period of her career in WWE after that match. So I think they're doing quite a good. I think it's not what I really would imagine happening, but building that storyline that Rhea is trying to finally get a win over Charlotte in one-on-one competition on the biggest stage, I think is a decent story. And I think you quite easily turn Rhea into the baby face, even though she's with the Judgment Day. And yeah, it'll be a tweener. It'll be like a tweener. It's like you want to boo her, but you just want to see her kick Charlotte's ass and take that belt. And I think if that feud does not end with Rhea winning at Mania, I think that's going to be an absolute waste of a Rumble victory. But that's me.
Another element to consider in that story as well is, where is Beth going to fit into this? Because that's clearly not done. Do they do that at Elimination Chamber? If Rhea wins, does Beth challenge Rhea? Because we've not had a match between those two yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've had.
I think if we get anything, we get a mixed tag. It'll be Rhea and Dom versus Beth versus Edge.
Or a six-man if you have Ray in as well, maybe.
Yeah.
If they can't do the singles match, for
there's supposed to be a blow-off match between Edge and Finn Balor at some point. I think originally they were supposed to do like Hell in a Cell at Royal Rumble, but it didn't materialize. So maybe there may be another match for Edge and Finn coming up at Mania per se. So I think Rhea will probably be slightly preoccupied with Beth at Elimination Chamber, but I don't think it's going to do anything to properly derail her onto Mania. I think Rhea is leaving Mania as champion. I think it will happen. I think it should happen, and I will be very annoyed if Charlotte wins, to be perfectly honest.
Sorry, I was going to say to move on to the Raw Women's Championship. I had to think of which title we're talking about.
Yes.
There is going to be an Elimination Chamber match at the Elimination Chamber event to determine the number one contender who will face Bianca at WrestleMania. Forgive me, I can't remember off the top of my head if people have actually been announced for that, but
some have been announced.
There are qualifying matches taking place, though. I'm aware of that.
Yes, some people have already been announced. So in the women's Elimination Chamber match for the number one contendership for the Raw Women's Championship match, we have Asuka, we have Liv Morgan, we have Nikki Cross, and Raquel Rodriguez versus two wrestlers to be determined in elimination. So that's going to be the fifth spot's going to be decided in a fatal four-way match between Candice LeRae, Carmella, Mia Yim, and Piper Niven. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, looking at the field so far in that, I think if it's not going to be Rhea, I think Evil Asuka versus Bianca is going to be the match.
Agreed, completely agreed.
And I think it'll be good as well.
I really want to see it.
I really
want to see it.
It's like you can.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, you could consider it's Hollywood. You could really play up into like, this is the thing. When we go to Hollywood, I want to see movie parodies. I want to see good movie parodies. If they're $1 billion company and they do half-assed movie parodies again, I'll be annoyed. But it's like you cannot try and indulge yourself a bit in the Hollywood mystique when you're in WrestleMania this year.
So, in terms of number one contender matches, there is also going to be a chamber match to determine the number one contender for the United States Championship.
I just want a correction there. It's actually for the United States Championship. So it's the belt.
Forgive me. Sorry, I thought that was also a contenders match. Sorry.
No, that is for the belt.
Oh, that's cool. So who at the moment has been announced for that then? If you have
Austin Theory's in there qualifying this week. We have Seth Freakin' Rollins, Johnny Gargano, and Bronson Reed, with two wrestlers to be determined. They are going to be decided in an upcoming episode of Raw. Angelo Dawkins versus Damian Priest, and Elias versus Montez Ford. Street Profits doing solo stuff there.
I would be really up for seeing Montez Ford winning.
Yes. I think
there's just something about him that just really, just in general, there is something about him. Like when he inevitably breaks out into singles run, and Angelo Dawkins as well, to be fair, could run by himself absolutely fine, but there's just something about him that really stands out.
Yeah. I think this will be a testing ground to see how Montez does as a singles performer. I mean, as much as I think it'd be cool to win it, I can't see him winning it from Austin Theory. And I think what will happen is, depending on what Austin Theory's WrestleMania plans are, which may or may not involve John Cena, either Austin will keep the belt and defend against Cena, or he'll lose the belt because of shenanigans, and we'll see what happens there. I mean, that's a good field anyway. Seth Rollins, Johnny Gargano, returning Bronson Reed. Again, those two Elimination Chamber matches sound good.
And then one would assume as well, when it comes to where else we're going, that somewhere in this mix, Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar will be factored in. add or subtract Gunther as needed.
Yes.
But part of me also wouldn't be surprised if Bobby Lashley ends up winning the US belt. Maybe Brock Lesnar thinks, I want to win the IC belt then. And we get Lesnar v Gunther just randomly on SmackDown.
Not title for title again, Jeremy. No one learned. No one learned when he said, I want title for title.
Or, hang on, hear me out here, hear me out. Because
right.
I want Gunther to be in a title match at WrestleMania. This is what I really want. So, what if we get a match between Lesnar and Gunther, which ultimately results in Lashley costing Lesnar the match? That's the setup for a match at Mania between the two.
Could work, but I think they would probably, unless they've got something deal with Brock, I think Brock will only be on Mania. He'll probably appear at Elimination Chamber, but he won't have a match. I can't imagine it. If it was for like a championship, you'd see Brock involved. Like WWE or Universal, you'd see Brock involved. But I can't imagine you'd see. I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't see it happening.
I was going to say, we don't see Brock for most of the year anyway, so you know.
No, it's when he needs to dust off the cowboy hat and he comes back to the ring, then you know it's time for a rodeo. But yeah, at the moment we're about over 2 weeks away from Elimination Chamber.
Really? Is that it?
Yeah, it's on February 17th, 18th, I believe.